I found him in a cave, oddly enough, somewhere north, near the dwarven city of Thorin's Hall. The old man at the prancing pony had told me of unsettling wailings echoing through the mountains, upsetting the residents and the traders in the area. He requested my skills in investigation to uncover the origin of the sounds. It was not that this was a request I could not refuse, it was that I did not want to. I did not know this old man, but he felt trustworthy. Now, as I feel the changes in my body take place, I wonder if he knew what he signed me up for. The man's name was Albert. Not that he did me the courtesy of introducing himself. I discerned this after listening to half an hour of his ramblings. I will spare you the details, for I have not the time to write them down. I learned from his madness that he had fled here from a town called Winterhome, somewhere in the northern Blue Mountains. Between mutterings about food and firewood, I heard him speak of the mountains and a great yellow eye. The moment I left, I slew a cave claw which was threatening me, which resulted in the only sign I had that Albert had been aware of my presence. He grabbed my arm and spoke. "Please, stop it," before returning to an apathetic state. I had found my mark, but it was evident I could not remove him without violence. Though he was clearly mad, I pitied Albert, and I did not wish to harm him. Furthermore, my interest was piqued. I too had received the yearly invitation to Winterhome, but I had never gone. I am not the type for winter merriment, but there seemed to be more going on than just glühwein and snowball fights. I donned my winter gear and sent a message to the prancing pony to inform the old man of my journey to Winterhome, and to ask him to send a small group of dwarves to take care of Albert. The horse took me to Winterhome in a comfortable yet confusing fashion. The more I think back on the route, the less I can remember, except for the snow-covered brush. The town itself is rather small, but cozy enough, similar to Bree in winter. I spent the first day in town, joining in the festivities. I ate the food, drank the drinks, and joined in the amateur hour at the theater, which apparently is every hour. So far, nothing out of the ordinary. I tried asking about the mountains, but no one really had anything interesting to say. They're mountains, and not much more. The workers in the town wouldn't give me the light of day, so I figured I might be able to pry something from them if I got in their good graces. I quickly understood why they were not too talkative. Some of their errands were borderline murderous. They were tasked with driving out a family of dangerous, though lazy, snow beasts, exposed to dangerous cold to drive off frost spirits, and tasked with systematically murdering the wood trolls for high-quality firewood. Could this have been what drove Albert to madness? After a day of hard labor, I managed to loosen the lips of one Gareth Rust. An unpleasant man, but valuable. It turned out Albert had not been a worker, but the local town crier. Last year there had been a conflict with the mayor of Winterhome regarding the working conditions during the festival. The mayor was proven to be corrupt by a visiting patron after a scuffle with the guards. Strangely, this conflict had actually been resolved. The workers' pay was increased. Yet still, soon after, Albert started screaming out of nowhere and ran out of town. After he did not return for 2 months, the townspeople figured he wasn't going to return. The mayor could not be bothered to report him missing, as the nearest authorities are miles away. It had been a long time since Gareth had even thought about the incident, until I asked him. This put me in a bind. I knew who Albert was, where he came from, and the events leading up to his madness, but there was no indication at all of what had caused it. Defeated for the moment, I sat down with a drink in the middle of town. As fate would have it, A man had been sitting in front of me, seemingly passed out. He must have overheard me muttering to myself about the case as his bloodshot eyes slowly opened. He introduced himself as Mr. Archbluff, a former banker. He had been an accomplice in the corruption scandal of the previous year, and I could tell he was not dealing with his shame in a very constructive manner. He reeked of drink, but he proved to be the key I was looking for. I asked him why he hadn't left town after the incident. He looked at me in a most chilling way and replied, "I can't. I have tried." The moment he set foot on the brushy path out of the valley, he would find himself right at the place where he started. "He won't let me leave." It was quiet for a moment, as if he was making up his mind about something. "Last year's stranger was not as thorough as he thought when he uncovered me against his little plot. Our contact, who he knew as the Southerner, was not a distant threat. He often camped in a nearby cave to make sure we held up our end of the bargain. Though I haven't seen him since last year, I'm sure that whatever powers are holding me here are his doing." This seemed strange to me, and Archbluff saw it in my face. It made him angry. He described the pressure the Southerner exerted, with his strange yellow eyes, how it was clear that this deal was an offer he and Winston could not refuse. He seemed to know the details of every private conversation Mayor Goodenough and Archbluff had had behind closed doors. While the man never laid his hands on them, the dread he exerted was enough to keep the men in line. The fact that they were able to line their own pockets in the process probably aided in their motivation. After Mr. Archbluff pointed me in the direction of the cave, I made to leave. At this point, the former banker looked past me and grabbed my sleeve, and while his eyes nearly bulged out of their sockets in fear, he spoke. "The yellow eyes always see. They know now. They know you're here. Get out if you know what is good for you." Then he got up and stumbled away from the table. I went back to my room next to the public kitchen and went to sleep. Tomorrow I would get to the bottom of this mystery. My night was cut very short. It turns out the party doesn't really stop in Winterhome, even after the sun sets. The sound of merriment continued outside my window as I tried to find sleep. The anguish in Mr. Archbluff's eyes never left my mind, and neither did his warning. He was clearly inebriated though, and if the noise I was hearing inside my sleeping room was anything to go by, it wouldn't surprise me if he was actually sleep deprived. Perhaps the toll of a round-the-clock festival service simply got to the workers in Winterhome. It would explain why any patron seems unaffected by whatever madness supposedly hangs in the air. Though it didn't explain why Albert was still mad, nearly a year after his incident. Both men also mentioned yellow eyes, which would be an odd coincidence. It also did not explain the things I saw and heard during the night. For a start, my door lock malfunctioned when I attempted to close it before going to bed. Luckily, this was not my first investigation under threatening circumstances. I had brought a small set of tools which helped me fix the lock. I was glad that I did, because through the mumble of the festival I could hear some scratching noises outside of my door in the middle of the night. None of these things were particularly concerning on their own, except for the yellow eyes I briefly viewed peering through the blanks in the walls. After not hearing anything new for 2 hours, I finally managed to catch a little sleep. Next morning I wasted no time. I was groggy from a disturbing night's rest, and even an experienced individual such as I doesn't like being intimidated. I walked out of the town and stopped for a moment at the mushroom tent. There to my right, I saw the peak under whose dark roots lay my quarry. As far as I knew, it had no name. The initial climb was arduous. I had to scale the snowy ridges to even get close to the mountain. As I got closer, the evil buildings of unknown origin revealed themselves up on the mountainside. I dared not guess who had built them, or why. The whole area was blanketed with a feeling of evil, and many obstacles were in my way. As I scaled the ice ridge blocking my path, blizzard finally set in. Blinded by the thick snow, I felt the pressure of the mountain bearing down upon me. Driven by some dark premonition, I persevered and found the cave high up in the mountain. I was relieved to be out of the wind and began the expedition. Little did I know, I had just passed the point of no return. It is now 2 weeks since I have entered the cave on that accursed mountain. I can feel my mind slipping further and further down into darkness as I write this account. Should someone find this diary, I recommend you stay far away from this place. There are older and fouler things in this world than you could ever conceive. What I saw in the cavern I can no longer describe. Mortal words are not fit to describe the terrible winding tunnels beneath those dark mountains. They bent and turned in on themselves in manners that could not have been conceived by nature. It played host to a whole ecosystem not quite of this world. My brain twists and grovels in the attempt to recall the slimy things to be found in that hole. Yet I ever pushed forward, now only driven by fear and an eldritch curiosity that was not quite my own. Soon the tunnels faded into nothing more than lights. Lights which pulled one deeper into this nest. The nest at the bottom of which lies the eye. Let us be glad that it has only affixed its gaze on this hamlet in the north. A hamlet that has become my home, for I too cannot leave this place any longer. Albert has mysteriously reappeared and wanders the premises, performing his usual job like nothing ever happened. And no matter how hard I try, it seems I cannot wake Mr. Archbluff from his stupor, as he sits in the same spot where we spoke merely a fortnight ago. From time to time, Gareth sends a patron my way with a small coin. I am not sure if he even remembers our conversation, or that he just has some lingering feeling of guilt towards me that he cannot place. The mountain calls me at night, but so far I'm able to resist. From time to time, people send me away from the bonfire that I am able to rest during the day. And each time they send me away, I try to leave the valley. I try to get through the brush, but I just end up here. I sense my mind has become more erratic as the color of my eyes has started to change to an unnatural yellow. I fear my mental decline is unavoidable. For now, I am living off these streets until the mountain finally takes me. Whoever has found this missive, do not go towards the mountain. Do not look at the yellow eyes. My name is Barrett Noel. Farewell. Thanks for watching this video. I wanted to end the year once again with a little experiment, and I hope you enjoyed it. While the amount of videos I made in 2023 is significantly smaller, their size has only increased. I would not have thought myself capable of creating videos an hour long, but here we are. As we get further into the story of the War of the Ring, the regions get larger and more difficult to summarize compared to the earlier regions of Eriador. We are, however, nearing the conclusion with about 4 to 5 episodes left. I hope you are as excited as I am for the entire journey of the Fellowship in LOTRO to be documented on YouTube. I hope you have a good year, and see you next time.